Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rod Roddenberry, son of Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, and you are watching MobileMediaTV.com.
One choice for entrepreneurs, Mogul Media TV. Today we're here with another entrepreneur who is carrying a legacy. Introduce yourself.
My name is Rod Roddenberry. I'm the son of Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek.
Now, how are you preserving your father's legacy coming up to 20 years after his death?
You know, I'm not really focusing too much on Star Trek. I'm really working on the Roddenberry name and its philosophy. Star Trek's been around for 45 years now because of its philosophy and not the fact that it's science fiction. And I think that's why so many people have really glommed onto it and connected to it, because it talks about this world where we all work together for the greater good, where we all reach beyond our perceived limitations, and where we no longer fear difference. We thirst and crave for it. And that is the philosophy that is connected to the Roddenberry name, and that's what I want to carry on.
Now, as far as rights, what do you have the rights to as far as Star Trek goes?
Well, the family, I'm pretty honest about these things. The family, is doing well financially. We do have a percentage, so we're fine in that area. However, as far as creative control and being able to have any input in Star Trek, typically in Hollywood these days, when you try to get a show done, you have to sign over a majority of the rights to the studio or who's ever producing it.
Wow.
And that was no different from my father. He retained some creative control when he was alive, but unfortunately, when he died, all those rights died with him. So Paramount and CBS have full creative control of Star Trek. And we're on good terms, and if we have thoughts or suggestions, they'll pick up the phone and listen. But we do not influence the show in any way at this point.
But the good thing about it is all the prequels, whoever's directing them, because I know J.J. Abrams has done a couple of them, he has kept it true to its form, like as if your father wanted it.
I got to give him credit where credit's due. He has. Now, there's a lot of hardcore Star Trek fans out there that would nitpick and say it's not this, it's not that. But, I think JJ did a great job with the casting. I think he did a great job not screwing up the canon, the story. And he even took a separate timeline because he wanted to change something. So that allows the original fans to love the original timeline and for the new ones to appreciate the new timeline. So I give him credit.
Now, what your father wanted to tell before he passed, because I know there's a lot of things that he wanted to touch on but was taken away too soon. Mm-hmm. So what was it that he wanted to know?
There's a lot of... You're still restricted in television. I mean, he was definitely restricted in the 60s. Extremely restricted in the 60s. But even in the late 80s and 90s, the censors were still there. He had a lot more creative control and freedom, but there's certain things, topics he couldn't bring up. Sex. Of course, that was brought up to a degree, but he was very, very definite thoughts about sex, drugs, homosexual. There was a lot of topics that he really wanted to delve into. He was a thinker. He was a philosopher. And there was no taboo topic. Everything was open for discussion. And that's what was great about him. He never got overly passionate or angry, I should say. He never got heated up emotionally about a topic. He could have a discussion about anything, any opposing idea, and that's what I loved. He could meet someone who had an opposing idea, and they could sit down and have a rational discussion, and you know what? They would both learn something from each other. And that's what he wanted to put into Star Trek, but you can't get that past the censor sometimes.
Another legacy has started, Trek Nation. Tell us about that.
Well, my father passed away when I was 17, and I didn't really know him as a man. He was an authority figure to me, and I didn't really get Star Trek either. I just didn't get it. And it wasn't until he passed away that I began hearing stories from fans and people who said that their lives were changed by Star Trek, and I didn't get it. I had to say, what are you talking about? I started doing research and talking to fans, friends, family, other luminaries in the industry, and I found out that Star Trek was much, much more than just entertainment. It inspired people to believe in themselves, to work for this future that is presented in Star Trek. So it is a documentary about my journey to discover who my father was by interviewing and meeting these people and learning new things.
And tell us more about the Roddenberry Foundation.
Roddenberry Foundation is something I'm very, very proud of. You know, for 45 years, my family, my father, has presented this future where we all work together for the greater good, and we have technologies that are improving and benefiting humanity every day. I want to take those steps. The Roddenberry Foundation is a foundation put together to help fund and work with industries and organizations that are on the cutting edge of innovation. So people who are in the biomedical field and creating heart cells from pluripotent stem cells. You know, stem cells, it's kind of amazing. You used to think those were embryonic from the fetus, and that was a very taboo thing, and I'm not going to get into that discussion. But what we can do today is we don't have to do that. They've taken a human, an adult skin cells, and they've actually converted them into stem cells, and from that created a sheet of beating heart cells. I've been there and I've seen this. So we're on the cutting edge of being able to create organs, to create hearts, livers, lungs, and that is cutting edge technology. That will change medicine on this planet forever.
And also I heard that you was part of funding the first flight to space.
I was on the, I believe, board of advisors for the X Prize. And we are actually now, many years later, working with them again, and we might have some financial contributions to some of their programs. But I was very much in support of that. NASA wasn't getting the funding it needed and wasn't doing its job because of that. So they turned to the entrepreneurs of today who had the funds to start their own space industry. And it's been growing by leaps and bounds. And I think it's going to change the face of space travel.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Roddenberry,
Absolutely.
the entrepreneur.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.